I was walking past a coffee shop this morning. This was a couple hours ago, actually. And there was this group of teenagers sitting outside. It was a completely normal scene, right? But then one of them drops his iced latte.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it just splashes everywhere.
Yeah.
All over the sidewalk, his shoes. And he doesn't scream, he doesn't curse or freak out. He just stares at the puddle, looks up at his friends, and says with this complete deadpan delivery, he goes, I am absolutely cooked.
It's the resignation that gets me. It's not, it's not a panic response at all. It's just pure acceptance.
Exactly. And his friends didn't even rush to help him grab napkins or anything. One of them just nodded and said, bro, you are so cooked.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was the entire interaction. I just stood there thinking, wow. Because if you've been anywhere near a social media scroll, a group chat, or apparently just a sidewalk in 2026, you have heard this word constantly over the last year.
Oh, absolutely. It is everywhere.
But I feel like a lot of people are sitting there asking themselves, what are they even talking about? Do I feel cooked? Because I don't actually know what cooked means.
It really is the linguistic anchor of the year. And it's funny because if you take it literally, it sounds like we're all suddenly just obsessed with the culinary arts.
Right, like everyone's a chef.
Exactly. But as we know, when someone says they're cooked, they're usually nowhere near a kitchen. It has absolutely nothing to do with making dinner.
Right. If you don't know the slang, you might think, oh, is he hot? Is he sunburned? Is he literally preparing a meal?
Or running a fever.
Yeah. But the reality is so much more specific. It's a vibe. It's a state of being. And honestly, if you're listening to this and feeling a little lost, feeling like the lexicon of 2026 has completely left you behind, well, I hate to say it, but you might be cooked.
Don't worry, though. We can uncook you, or at least we can get you up to speed so you can understand the slang without feeling overwhelmed.
That's the mission for today.
Exactly, because today we're digging into a really comprehensive breakdown from this article in 17 titled, Why Everyone is Saying Cooked and What It Actually Means. And we've got some historical deep dives into the etymology that, I have to be honest, completely surprised me.
Me too, because I assumed this was just TikTok nonsense.
Right. It always feels like TikTok nonsense until you realize it's actually tied to 19th century literature. But we'll definitely get to that.
We will. But first, I think we really have to nail down the definition. Because cooked isn't just a synonym for bad. It's way more nuanced than that.
It is. If you look at how it's actually being used right now in 2026, cooked basically refers to the repercussions of a mistake, or a situation that has just become entirely irretrievable.
Irretrievable. That's a heavy word for a dropped iced latte.
It feels heavy.
Yeah.
But I think that's the core of the joke. The 17 article points out that it's effectively admitting defeat, but with style. When that kid dropped his drink, he wasn't saying, oh, I made a mess. He was saying, the situation is effectively over. I have lost the drink. I am now wet. This is my reality. It's acknowledging the situation fully.
It's the with style part that I just love. It's almost like a shrug, but in word form. I feel like in previous years, we had words like stressed or overwhelmed or even triggered.
Oh, yeah.
But those words imply this active emotional state. You're fighting against the bad thing that's happening to you. Cooked feels like, well, it feels like you've stopped fighting.
That's a brilliant distinction, actually. Think about the literal physics of cooking. Once a steak is cooked, it's done. You cannot uncook a steak.
The proteins have denatured.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The state change is permanent. When you apply that to a human being or a stressful situation, you're essentially saying there is no going back from this.
So it's deeply fatalistic.
Extremely fatalistic, but in a very funny, very low-stakes way.
I mean, I feel like I've been cooked a dozen times just this week alone. I tried to assemble that new bookshelf yesterday, put the back panel on completely backwards, and didn't realize until I was putting in the very last screw. Yeah. I just sat on the floor, looked at the shelf, and thought, well, I'm cooked.
See, that is textbook usage right there.
Yeah.
Let me ask, did you cry?
No. I just stared into the middle distance for a solid 2 minutes.
Then you were definitely cooked. You had reached acceptance. But here is where the story gets really fascinating. You might think you were having a very modern Gen Z moment sitting on your floor with that bookshelf.
I did feel very trendy.
Well, if we look at the etymology, you were actually channeling a very Victorian energy. The slang isn't new at all. Gen Z just repurposed it.
Wait, do not tell me people in top hats were walking around London saying, I'm cooked.
They absolutely were.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe not with the exact same inflection, but Merriam-Webster notes that the slang cooked, meaning done or finished, has been simmering in the English language since the 1800s.
The 1800s, that is wild.
Yes, it usually meant something was falsified, like, cooked accounts, or it meant that a person was physically ruined by heat or exhaustion.
Okay, cooked accounts I've definitely heard. Like the financial context of cooking the books, falsifying records.
Right, which implies dishonesty. But the exhaustion angle from the 19th century is the one that really connects to how we use it today.
That makes sense.
But wait, it actually gets better. According to the site Worldwide Words, there are two specific subcultures from around 2002 that really kept this word alive while it went dormant for the rest of us.
Okay, what were they?
Chess and cycling.
Chess and cycling. Wow, those are two communities I do not usually group together.
They don't have a lot of crossover, but they share this word. In the world of chess problems, we're talking about composing specific puzzle scenarios for other players to solve. A problem is considered cooked if it has a second solution that the creator didn't intend.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, or if the whole setup is just totally invalid.
That's really interesting. So it's not just that the player lost the game. It's that the scenario itself is fundamentally broken.
Exactly. Imagine you spend weeks designing this brilliant, airtight checkmate puzzle. You publish it in a magazine, and then someone points out, actually, if I just move this pawn on step 1, your whole puzzle falls apart.
The puzzle is cooked.
The puzzle is cooked. It's unsound. It's fundamentally flawed.
That feels incredibly relevant to the modern usage.
Yeah.
It's not just, I made a minor mistake. It's the entire logic of my current situation has collapsed.
Precisely. The DNA of the word has remained so consistent. And then, if you look at cycling and competitive cycling, being cooked is a very specific physical sensation.
Right, the exhaustion aspect.
Yes. It's when you have completely depleted your body's glycogen stores. You have a total loss of momentum. It's also called bonking.
The bonk. I've hit that running marathons before. It's horrible. It's not just I'm tired and I need a breather. It's literally my body has shut down the factory and I cannot take another step.
Your legs are entirely empty. You are physically incapable of maintaining the pace. You are cooked. So if you combine the chess meaning, which is fundamentally invalid, and the cycling meaning, which is completely empty of energy, you get the absolute perfect cocktail for the 2026 definition.
That is actually blowing my mind a little bit. It's like we took the intellectual failure of the chess world, mixed it with the physical failure of the cycling world, and mashed them into this general, everyday existential failure.
And we can't forget the 1990s. Sprinkle a little bit of your goose is cooked on top for flavor.
Oh man, I totally forgot about the goose. That was pure doom growing up.
It really was. If someone said his goose is cooked, it meant he was getting fired or he was going to jail. It signaled total doom or failure.
It implies impending judgment. So we have this really rich history here. Victorian financial fraud, chess invalidity, cycling exhaustion, and 90s doom. It's actually an incredibly heavy word when you really unpack it.
It is, and yet Gen Z uses it for dropped lattes and backward bookshelves.
That's the beauty of slang, right?
Mm.
It takes this massive high-stakes drama and applies it to the lowest stakes possible.
Exactly.
Okay, so we know what it means, we know the core meaning of being done or finished, and we know where it comes from. But we really need to talk about how people are actually saying it, because there is a very specific phrase that I keep hearing everywhere.
Yes, there is.
It's not just someone sighing and saying, I'm cooked. It's usually framed as a question, like, chat, am I cooked?
Ah, yes. The chat phenomenon. This is arguably even more interesting to me than the word cooked itself.
Right, because I'll be at dinner with 3 friends like flesh and blood human beings sitting across the table from me, and one of them will look at the group and say, chat, is this outfit okay? Or, chat, are we cooked?
It's a huge shift in how we communicate. This is a direct bleed over from live streaming culture. Platforms like Twitch, Kick, YouTube Live.
Where people play video games and stream themselves.
Exactly. On those platforms, a streamer plays a game or just talks to the camera, and there's a scrolling wall of text from the audience. That audience is referred to as the chat, and the streamer interacts with them in real time.
So when I call my physical friend group chat, I'm basically pretending that I'm a streamer broadcasting my life.
Essentially, yes. You are referring to the group of people you are communicating with as your audience. You're framing your own life as content. In a way, it's a form of mild dissociation.
Whoa. Dissociation. That sounds intense.
Well, think about it. If you're in a stressful scenario, say you just realize you forgot your wallet at home and you're at the cash register.
A nightmare.
Right. And you turn to your friends and say, Chet, am I cooked? You are actively breaking the fourth wall of your own reality. You're stepping outside of the immediate embarrassment and treating it like a scene in a TV show. You're asking the audience to rate your failure.
That is kind of dark.
Yeah.
But also, weirdly, a great coping mechanism.
It is a coping mechanism. Because if you are the protagonist in a piece of content, the bad things aren't just happening to you to make you suffer, they're happening for the plot. It creates emotional distance from the mistake.
So asking chat, are we cooked, essentially translates to asking the group if we are finished or done for, but doing it with enough irony that it doesn't hurt as much as actually saying, I messed up.
Exactly. It turns the tragedy, however small, into a meme. And the standard response from the friend group confirms this dynamic perfectly.
Because if you ask chat, are we cooked, the socially valid response isn't, no, it'll be fine, don't worry.
No, the common reply is almost always, we are so cooked.
Which is total validation.
Yes, it's the group saying, yes, we have failed, the plot has taken a turn for the worse, and we have accepted it.
It's communal resignation. We are so cooked. It's like the musicians on the Titanic, but instead of playing the violin as the ship goes down, they're just posting about it.
That is a terrifyingly accurate analogy for 2026.
And the 17 article gave some really great variations on how versatile this is beyond just the dropped lattes.
Yeah, it applies to almost anything.
Like exhaustion. Someone might just sit down after a long meeting and say, after that meeting, I am cooked. Just feeling completely worn out.
Just like the cyclists.
Exactly. Or reacting to something cringeworthy or embarrassing online.
Yeah.
You see a weird video and you just comment, that post is so cooked.
Which means it's fundamentally flawed, just like the chess problems.
It all comes back to the history. Okay, so we've got chat. We've got the nuances of being cooked. But there is a massive trap here, a pitfall that I see people falling into constantly, especially if they're, let's say, a little older than the core demographic driving this slang.
You're talking about the cooking versus cooked dichotomy.
Yes, because this is crucial. In standard English, cooking and cooked are literally just different tenses of the exact same verb. But in the slang we're talking about today, they are effectively antonyms. They mean completely opposite things.
It is such an important distinction to make. If you say someone is cooked, as we've established, they are done, they have failed, they are exhausted. But if you say someone is cooking...
That is a massive compliment.
A huge compliment. Cooking has a completely positive connotation. It means they are devising a master plan in pursuit of a specific target. They are operating at peak performance.
You hear this in sports a lot, like, look at him, he's cooking. It means he's successfully working toward a goal, he's scoring, he's unguardable.
Or even in a creative or professional context. If someone is quietly working on a project and they're really in the zone, you might tell other people, let her cook.
Let her cook. Yes, that's the exact phrase. It means back off. Give her time to expand on this effective strategy because she's about to produce something amazing.
Right. It implies a process of creation that shouldn't be disturbed. It's hopeful. It's strategic.
So let's role play this real quick just to make sure the contrast is crystal clear for everyone listening. If I'm at work and I'm furiously typing out this brilliant pitch proposal and my boss walks in to interrupt me.
Your coworkers should step in and say, don't bother him. He's cooking.
Right. Very positive. I am succeeding. But if I accidentally highlight the entire proposal and delete it 5 minutes before the deadline.
Then you look at your coworker in horror and say, I am cooked.
And the coworker says,
you are absolutely cooked.
See, it's a perfect binary system. Creation versus destruction. Strategy versus exhaustion. Process versus finality.
It really is. Cooked is the defeat and exhaustion. Cooking is the strategy and success. It's surprisingly philosophical when you lay it out like that.
It is. And it's funny because Let 'em Cook actually started a few years back, right? I remember seeing it with sports memes a while ago. But it feels like cooked has really overtaken it recently as the dominant term.
It definitely has. The 17 article touches on this as part of the bigger picture of language evolution. This is just the natural cycle of language. Words shift from comical idioms about geese in the 90s to modern meme culture today.
But why this specific word right now?
Well, the slang gets stranger, sure, but it serves a very specific function. The article makes this observation that I think is the core of the whole why. It says that sometimes the only honest way to describe a situation is to admit you are fully cooked.
The only honest way.
Yeah.
I really like that because sometimes forced positive thinking is just toxic, right? Sometimes you don't want someone to patronize you and tell you, you've got this when you clearly do not have it.
Exactly. If you've just crashed your car or failed a final exam or sent a terrible text to the wrong person, hearing "it'll be okay, look on the bright side" just feels incredibly dismissive of your reality.
Well, it does.
But saying "I'm cooked" is validation. It's looking the failure right in the eye and accepting it.
It's grounding. It's reality testing.
And it's funny, we cannot underestimate the sheer power of humor in language evolution. By turning your failure into a slang term, by asking your chat about it, you are defanging the monster. You're making the scary, overwhelming thing a little bit ridiculous.
It really reminds me of gallows humor.
It is exactly Gen Z gallows humor. It's laughing in the face of the void. The ship is sinking. Well, chat, we are cooked.
It really is a survival mechanism when you frame it like that. It's just so much better than panicking.
Much better, because panic wastes so much energy. Being cooked actually preserves your energy because you've already accepted the outcome. You aren't fighting it anymore. You can just sit there and rest in your failure for a minute.
You know, I actually feel a lot better about this whole trend now. I was worried it was just pure nihilism, just a generation of people giving up on everything. But the way you describe it, the way the sources break it down, it sounds almost zen.
It's like nihilism light. It has the flavor of giving up, but it's mostly just the social signal that you need a break. It requires admitting defeat, yes, but doing it with style.
So to quickly recap the journey we've taken today, from the 19th century definitions all the way to 2026 buzzwords.
It's been quite the ride.
It has. So cooked means you are done, you have failed, or you're exhausted. But cooking means you are plotting, strategizing, and succeeding.
Perfect summary.
And I think the real takeaway for you listening is that whether you decide to use the word yourself or just simply understand it when you hear it, you are now officially in on the joke. You don't have to be confused by the group chat anymore.
You are officially uncooked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Something building on what we talked about with the whole chat phenomenon.
Oh, the live streaming bleed over.
Yeah. We talk about how asking chat, "Am I cooked?" creates emotional distance by framing your life as content. But I wonder, in a world where language evolves so incredibly fast to match our digital habits, are we actually preparing ourselves for a future where the line between our digital audience and our real life completely disappears?
Oh, wow. That's a huge question.
Right. If we start treating our physical friends as an audience to rate our failures, are we losing the ability to just have a private failure? Maybe admitting you're cooked to chat isn't just a coping mechanism. Maybe it's us surrendering the idea of a private life altogether. Everything is content, even our mistakes.
That is a deeply unsettling but very plausible thought. If everything is for the plot, then nothing is just for us anymore.
Exactly. Something to think about the next time you drop your coffee.
I will definitely be thinking about that.
Thanks for diving into the sources with us today. Hopefully your brain isn't entirely cooked after all that etymology.
And if it is, just remember, it's okay to accept it.
It sure is.
Hey.
We'll see you in the next deep dive. Take care, chat.
Bye, chat.